Of course, here is the story, expanded to 4 times its original length, with extensive new details, additional case studies, expert analysis, and deeper exploration of the key themes. The jackpot jinx. When a dream win becomes a living nightmare, it's a shocking statistic that defies the very fantasy it sells. Nearly 70% of lottery winners will face bankruptcy or severe financial hardship within a few years of their windfall. Furthermore, a study from the National Endowment for Financial Education found that winners are more likely to declare bankruptcy within 3 to 5 years than the average American. This isn't just bad luck, it's a pervasive pattern, a modern-day cautionary tale that has led economists, psychologists, and the public alike to label this phenomenon the lottery curse. We are culturally programmed to believe that winning millions is the ultimate panacea, the magic key that unlocks a life of endless luxury and blissful happiness. We imagine paying off debts, buying dream homes, and traveling the world without a care. But for a disquieting number of winners, the reality is a devastating inversion of that dream. The sudden influx of wealth often acts not as a salve, but as an acid burning through finances, eroding family bonds and exposing winners to unimaginable pressures and danger. The initial euphoria is almost always a fleeting prelude to a complex saga of anxiety, betrayal, and loss. The core of the problem often lies in a psychological condition known as sudden wealth syndrome. This isn't an official diagnosis, but a term used by financial planners and therapists to describe the intense stress, isolation, guilt, and paralysis that can accompany a massive windfall. Winners, often from modest or even struggling economic backgrounds, are thrust into a world of high-stakes finance and relentless public scrutiny for which they are utterly unprepared. They lack the financial literacy to manage 8 or 9-figure sums, leading to a dangerous cycle of reckless spending, poor investments, and a failure to account for massive tax liabilities. This is compounded by the fear of losing it all, which can be just as paralyzing as the initial shock of winning. The curse manifests in several devastating ways. First, there is the crushing weight of family pressure and public scrutiny. Overnight, a winner's private life becomes public domain. Long-lost relatives, old acquaintances, and complete strangers emerge from the woodwork, their hands outstretched. Saying no can lead to accusations of greed and heartlessness, fracturing families irrevocably. Meanwhile, the winner becomes a local celebrity, their every purchase and life decision analyzed and judged, stripping them of their privacy and normalcy. From 2018, Roa Toth and her husband are a textbook example of this financial freefall. They blew an entire $13 million Florida lottery jackpot in just a few years. The money vanished into a whirlwind of luxury cars, a sprawling mansion, extravagant vacations, and ill-advised loans to friends. Overwhelmed and financially adrift, they made a catastrophic error. They failed to pay taxes on their winnings. Afterward, she ended up in prison for tax fraud. Reflecting on the moment their lives changed, Toth said, "That minute that he turned in that ticket to show that we were millionaires, the curse started that minute." Their story is a stark lesson in how a lack of planning and financial guidance can turn a blessing into a sentence. In 2025, Edwin Castro, the winner of the biggest lottery jackpot in history at $2.4 billion, learned that money is no shield against fate. 2 years before, Castro was universally called the luckiest man in America. With his winnings, he splurged on a portfolio of real estate, including a stunning $3.8 million beachfront mansion in Malibu, a symbol of his new, secure life. Yet, in a cruel twist of irony, that very mansion was later destroyed in the devastating Los Angeles wildfires. His story shows that even the largest fortune can't always insulate you from personal tragedy and misfortune. It also highlights another common pitfall: the rapid acquisition of high-value, high-maintenance assets that can become targets for lawsuits or, as seen here, be vulnerable to disaster. The psychological whiplash of achieving ultimate security only to have it literally go up in smoke is a brutal facet of the curse. Perhaps the most painful manifestations of the curse are the ones that tear families apart at the seam. The story of Eileen Murray and her ex-husband Mike Worski is a masterclass in post-win bitterness. In 2019, Mike won a staggering $273 million in the lottery. The irony was palpable. Mike never had a steady job in their 13-year marriage. "We had a dog, he took care of the dog, Eileen recalled. Their divorce was finalized just 5 months before his win, and in the settlement, Eileen, the longtime breadwinner, was ordered to pay him alimony. The win immediately sparked a national debate. Was Eileen entitled to any of the money? But Eileen told Inside Edition's Les Trent she didn't want a penny of his winnings. When asked, "Your ex-husband won over $270 million. You were the breadwinner when you were married. You think you're entitled to any of that?" She was firm. "I don't want anybody to misconstrue anything. I'm coming after him. I'm taking him back to court. I want part of his lottery winnings. I don't." Her only request was to stop the alimony payments. "The only thing that I would like to see is obviously termination of spousal support." Her reaction to the news was one of pure shock. "I had already seen that somebody had purchased a ticket at that store and I thought there's no way it could be him, and sure enough it was. I was shocked." Eileen was adamant that the money changed nothing about her feelings. "Now that you have money, it doesn't mean that I would want to come back." Mike, reveling in his new life, felt the same way. $270 million does not make me appealing to her. That's what she said in the New York Post interview. "And do you believe her?" reporter asked. Mike's reply was dismissive. "I don't care. She didn't have a chance of getting back with me and I don't want her back." Divorce lawyer Kelly Chang Rickard analyzed the case, noting, "He bought this ticket post the divorce several months after the divorce was finalized. He bought it with his separate money. They won in separate property and she has absolutely no right to it." The final bizarre twist: the New Jersey convenience store where Mike bought the winning ticket was the very same place he had proposed to Eileen 15 years prior. As Les Trent remarked, "That is a crazy story." His co-anchor could only reply, "It is a crazy story." Wow, this bitter dynamic is heartbreakingly common. Another infamous case is that of Abraham Shakespeare, a Florida man who won a $30 million jackpot. Initially generous, Shakespeare quickly became overwhelmed by the constant requests for money. He was relentlessly hounded and eventually befriended by Doris D.D. Moore, a woman who presented herself as a financial advisor. Moore systematically isolated him from his family and siphoned off his fortune. In 2009, Shakespeare was murdered, shot twice in the chest. Moore was convicted of first-degree murder and is now serving a life sentence. His story is a chilling extreme of how the curse can attract predators and lead to the ultimate tragedy, proving that sudden wealth can make you a target for the most malicious intentions. Other winners have faced similar fates. Jeffrey Dampier, who won $20 million in the Illinois lottery, was kidnapped and murdered by his own sister-in-law, who was after his money. Billy Bob Harrell Jr., a Texas winner, committed suicide after his windfall led to overwhelming family demands and profound existential despair, famously telling his financial advisor before his death, "Winning the lottery is the worst thing that ever happened to me." The emotional and psychological impact of this sudden wealth is perhaps best captured in the more recent case of James Faring. In 2025, Faring won a $67 million Powerball prize, the largest in Kentucky state history. For a man who had spent nearly 30 years in prison for offenses ranging from criminal mischief to engaging in organized crime, this was the ultimate second chance, an opportunity to rewrite his life story. Yet the transition from incarceration to immense wealth proved too much, too fast. Just 2 days later, while celebrating his historic win in St. Pete Beach, Florida, the pressure boiled over. He got into a physical altercation with fellow guests at his hotel. When police arrived to break up the fight, the situation escalated rapidly. An officer was heard saying, "I just got kicked. Put your hands behind your back and get against the wall." In a moment of pure panicked instinct, Faring made a run for it, causing officers to tackle him to the ground. In a heartbreaking moment captured on body cam, his past and present colliding, he pleaded, "Please, man, I'm sick. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Please, please don't send me back." Les Trent followed up on the story. "Why did James Faring say please don't send me back?" Turns out he has a long rap sheet. Faring was charged with battery of an officer and pleaded not guilty, but his desperate cry laid bare the profound psychological torment. It highlighted the crushing fear that a life-changing event can't always erase a deeply troubled past, and that the blinding spotlight of winning can magnify existing problems and tempt old demons. The curse isn't just about losing money, it's about losing your sense of self, your anonymity, and being thrust into a world you are psychologically and emotionally unequipped to navigate. From financial ruin and legal troubles to fractured relationships, predatory threats, and personal tragedies, these stories paint a consistent and harrowing picture. The lottery's glittering promise of a better life is for a significant majority. The long-term reality is far more often a complex struggle with isolation, paranoia, fear, and profound regret. The money amplifies who you already are. If there are cracks in your foundation, a jackpot can cause them to shatter completely. So what do you think? Are lottery winners truly cursed by some unseen force, or is their downfall a preventable result of a lack of preparation, sound financial advice, and psychological support? Is the curse simply human nature magnified under an extreme microscope? Share your thoughts and personal opinions on lottery winners in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into the psychology of sudden wealth intriguing and want to learn how to build sustainable, lasting wealth through smart planning, no lottery ticket required, we invite you to watch our next video, 10 personal finance tips that actually work. Remember, the surest jackpot is the one you build yourself. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Andrea Swindle.